Hey, it's Jason Osborn here again with another episode of the Atomic Impact podcast. And it is my pleasure to have John Williams on the podcast today. He is the owner and founder of the Ideas Lab, where he helps turn people's ideas into a one of a kind business with books and their branding. He has a program that he calls the Crazy Successful Formula, which I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about as well. But, John, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure, and looking forward to jumping into this. So, tell just briefly, like, tell us a little bit. I know I've just said the name of your business, kind of what you do, but tell us a little bit more. Like, what do you do? What inspired you to do this, and how do you help people?
Well, my career has been in innovation right from the beginning. I was a software guy for the first 10 years, working as a developer on special effects software and stuff like that. And I worked in a startup incubator, and then I worked on cutting edge broadcast technology for the BBC and people like that through being a Deloitte consultant. And then I quit and said I never wanted a job ever again for the rest of my life, which I've stuck to. Not always been easy. It's pretty stable now, but it's been an interesting journey over 20 years of running the Ideas Lab and helping people get interesting businesses off the ground. And the other thing aside from that, kind of a parallel to that, I was very interested in creativity, productivity, I guess, for people like me who are a bit kind of scatterbrained, and psychology because I wasn't terribly happy growing up, to be honest. So I was kind of really interested in psychotherapy and stuff, and I trained in psychotherapy for 5 years and counseling and other stuff. And so now I merge those things together in this concept of crazy successful, because what I realized is the most successful people are actually a little bit crazy. It's not that they're like more normal or more sorted out and fewer problems than everybody else. What we see in the most successful people, particularly extraordinarily successful people, is someone who has learned how to lean into the advantages of their particular strain of craziness, of like their unconventional viewpoint, their quirks of their personality, and just showing their authentic personality, and then learn to manage the downsides of it, because every downside has an upside and every upside has a downside. So that's what I do with the concept of crazy successful, which is the name of my next book, my fourth book.
It's amazing. We might call that this episode that your strain of crazy,
Yeah.
which I love that concept of, and it's so true as well. I think most entrepreneurs, I think people in general, don't they? They try to play down that kind of crazy side of it. When really, as you said, embracing that often makes you stand out and is exactly the thing that attracts people to you, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, and you're a big fan of LinkedIn. And what I see is when people come out of the corporate environment and they start posting, particularly on LinkedIn, because it is a bit of a more conventional kind of vibe to it, they strip out everything that makes them interesting and special and unique, and they rip it out of their marketing. And then they wonder why they're not getting any traction. And the
Yeah.
people who are getting traction, well, first of all, they do post a lot, generally speaking. But the other thing is that they actually show their personality on the whole. There are always exceptions to every rule, but we see people who actually being who they are. And then it allows you to go like, well, I either resonate with this person or I don't. So if you're the kind of people we both uh, are interested in helping are consultants and service providers and coaches and stuff. And particularly for that kind of stuff, they're going to work with you in some form, quite intimately, whether it's one to one or in a group or in an organization. So they need to know what you're like, because otherwise they can't buy from you. So when you see people posting on LinkedIn, all they do is try to educate. They could say something really, really wise every single day. And then they wonder why nobody buys from them. It's because, well, we don't know who you are. And then you've got this problem because, and I see this a lot in my clients, what they find is people buy once they get in a room with them. And that happens quite accidentally. So they'll happen to run into them, or they know them from their previous job, or they met them somehow by some random thing. And those are the only people who ever buy from them. And they get referrals, which is great because it means that you're good at what you do, because people won't refer you if you're bad. But it's so random and sporadic because they're not showing who they really are anywhere else. And so people only get to know them when they happen to accidentally, turn up at a networking event or their birthday or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm always encouraging clients to show who you are, show your personality.
Yeah. Yeah. So much truth in that. I think if people can just take that one piece of advice and apply that, it will really help transform what they're doing, not only in their business but personal life as well. I'm curious, John. One of the questions I like to ask, and you kind of answered it in a little bit, but I'm curious to see what your response to this is. If you were to be able to go back, and I know you've been doing this for 20 years with your own business and you left and everything from what you're doing in corporate, if you were to go back 20 odd years to that version of yourself, what's the number one piece of advice that you give yourself to maybe help you struggle less when you got started?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a natural entrepreneur, which in a way is why I'm better at teaching other people about entrepreneurship. Because those people who have unconscious competence. You go like,
Yeah.
how do you do that? And they go like, hmm. Whereas I've had to struggle to learn every single entrepreneurial skill of managing money and selling and marketing and pricing and confidence and so on. So I can teach people how I did that. And I think the big things are what I say to people now is you just need like one revenue engine in your business. So if you're selling services, you need like one main thing you sell to corporates, or one program, or one one-to-one package. And if you know it's good, you just put all your marketing effort into that. Now, you can sell other bits and bobs, and you might sell introductory stuff to solve that problem of people don't really know you yet. But the main money earner is one thing. And with one good earning thing, you can make a six-figure income. And in fact, people make seven figures often out of that one thing. So that's one of the things. And also just believe once you know it's good enough, stop thinking, well, it's got to be better and better and better. And somehow you're missing something that other people have got. Just double down on that one thing, have confidence in what you're doing, and throw everything at it. And that's how you actually um, get to that critical point where you can make a good full-time living or 100K plus or whatever it is you're shooting for. And you can go beyond that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah. Yeah. You have no idea how much you were speaking my language right now.
Yeah.
Like it's so important. So what you're saying, and correct me if I used if you would say it in a different way, but I think this is so powerful, is get rid of the noise,
Hmm.
don't overcomplicate, simplify what you're doing, focusing on that one thing and go all in on that one thing.
Yes. And I think what people do is because until they've learned the skills of marketing, copywriting, and so on, and sales, what they do is they try to sell something and it doesn't work. And then try to find a lower price thing and think, well, that'll be easier. And then that doesn't work. And then they end up scrabbling around selling these, single sessions or, a £50 passive course, which they think they're going to magically sell 1 million copies of. And actually, it's usually easier to go the opposite way and pick something that you know is good, that you can deliver real value. If it costs a grand or two at least, if you're in the corporate world, it'd be more than that, in fact. Then just learn all those skills of how you sell somebody ethically, how you do marketing, how you write copy, how you construct an offer. And that's what's missing. It's not that, well, what I see is a lot of beginners running around creating these low price things, hoping that somehow it's going to add up to a living, and it doesn't. Now you're going to want some low price things, like I say, to get people to get a taste of who you are, but they're vehicles on the way to selling the big thing. And in fact, shouldn't even consider them a money earner themselves quite often.
Yeah, yeah. Oftentimes um, they're to help you just kind of break even on ad spend and almost like loss leaders, which I'm surprised how many entrepreneurs don't understand the whole loss leader concept, which is it's a very big principle within shops. You go into me and John are both here in the UK, but if you go into Sainsbury's or to Asda or something like that, first stuff you see is usually they're loss leaders because they just want to get people into the store, and it doesn't have to be a loss leader, but whole concept is so important. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. It looked like you were going to say one other thing around that. Did you have something else you want to say?
Not around that, I think, but I think a lot of the time, what I spend time with clients doing is we're shooting for category creation, which is a term a lot of people have maybe heard of, but not really fully understood. And what I'm trying to do is help people create something that is one of a kind, as you mentioned at the start. Because what I've noticed is that when you create something distinctive and original, it's not that you don't have to do marketing, unfortunately. We'd all love everything to work without marketing, but all the marketing you do has 10 times the effect. Because if you look exactly like everybody else and you're doing something broadly similar, you can win by brute force, just by, being a harder, better marketer. It's hard work. And most people are not built for that. They're not that passionate about marketing. But if you create something that you're really passionate about and solves a problem that isn't being well addressed by anybody else, and then double down on that, then you get this really, often there's a bit of a sticky period at the beginning where you're trying to find exactly, trying to find product market fit. And then once you've got that, then things take off and you get this kind of wild ride, a wild ride where, often business can feel like pushing a rock uphill. And then when
Mm,
you get to this magic point and you've got something that's got product market fit that is a whole new category of product or service, then it feels like you're chasing something rolling downhill. And I've had that
yeah.
with books, programs. I used to run a live event for creative people in London it was called Scanners Night. It was for people with a scanner is somebody with too many ideas and too many interests, loves learning, bad at good at starting things and bad at finishing things. And I ran an event just for that. It ended up in the press, in the Daily Mail, and Red Magazine and stuff like that, because it was distinctive. So that's the thing I'm really shooting for. And in my programs, I'm always trying to help clients see, is there something unique here? And the way you do category creation is by finding a problem that isn't being well addressed right now. And it might be that the generic solution doesn't work for your kind of people or the kind of organization you work with or the kind of industry you operate in or whatever it might be. And so you found a little pocket where, wait, these people aren't being serviced. But I can really help them and I know I get great results for them. And
Yeah.
that's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you just said there, I think is really, really important. And I think some people are going to misinterpret what you just said. And you said you try to find a pocket or something that isn't being served. And one of the things I think people misunderstand is they have to come up with something that no one else is doing is completely unique, which usually that's the wrong thing to do because if no one's doing it, it probably means that no one wants it. It's no product market fit. But what you've said is you find something generally and you find that element, how you package it and position it in a way that meets a certain type of person so that it resonates more with them. So it's not about creating something, inventing something new that no one else has done. Oh my God, I have this amazing light bulb thing no one's done. But it's carving out that niche within that market so that you do stand out. Is that what you're saying, John?
Absolutely. That's really important to say because otherwise people think, well, I'm just a blah, the same as everybody. I'm just a project manager, Six Sigma consultant, psychotherapist, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like when I ran this event, Scanners Night, it became, really big and got in the press. But it's basically just a bunch of speakers in a room above a bar that I wasn't paying for, with me being, pretty disorganized running this thing. But it was interesting because of the positioning. So often the first step is super niching, as I call it. So it's a niche within a niche.
Yeah.
If you just zoom in and say, instead of saying, I can help anybody do anything, which is marketing disaster zone, because now you're competing with everybody,
Everybody, yeah.
the competitive landscape, um, you say like, no, I do this. It's particularly good when you're first starting out because your expertise won't be that well established. So if you focus down on where your expertise does exist, then you suddenly become much more valuable to
Yeah,
who you're helping.
I love that. Absolutely love it. I can we could literally I was saying this to someone else that was on the podcast the other day. They were talking about another topic that I just really am inspired by. And this is one of those. I could talk about this all day. So
I
I
love it.
totally get it, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never get bored of it because I like inventing things. I'm basically a kind of, creative inventor at heart more than I am an entrepreneur. So now I help other people do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, we're getting fairly close to the end of the podcast, but just I wanted to ask you, like, what's your 5 year goal for your business? If you were to like sum it up in 1 or 2 sentences, where are you looking to go with your business in the next 5 years?
Well, I am looking to go from six figures to seven. So I just hired a coach who makes seven figures, and I'm not at that level, quite a long way off. And my plan is to make a decent chunk of money, and I can say publicly, I want about £1 million to buy a flat because that's what it costs around here in London.
Yeah, yeah.
£1 million to put in my pension pot because my pension is pretty rubbish, and then £1 million to give to Rachel Reeves if she doesn't want to by that point because things aren't going very well. So she's the Chancellor of Exchequer. So that's basically my plan over the next 5 years to make basically an extra 3 million or so. So I'm planning to document what I'm learning along the way so that people can follow along.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, my next to last question I always ask, just because I am a LinkedIn geek with everything I do with my business, what is something that you're wanting to achieve more on with LinkedIn? Because that's where we've met. Where what would you like to achieve?
Always interested in meeting new people, particularly people who are interested in this topic of creating something distinctive,
Mm,
or who want to learn to do that, or want to, find the bravery to show their personality more, because it does take some bravery, or people who are good at that already. I'm always inspired by people who are very good at being themselves.
yeah,
So that's what I'm interested in, and connecting with more people on LinkedIn, making my feed a bit more exciting. That would be fun. So anyone who's listening is welcome to find me on LinkedIn as John Spencer Williams. Just send me a DM and say, "Yeah, I heard you on Jason's podcast." That would be cool.
yeah. And speaking of that, what other ways? Because what you've said is brilliant. I fully endorse everything you're saying about positioning and all that stuff. That's something I talk a lot about with my own clients as well. But if people are wanting to find you more, obviously they can find you on LinkedIn, like you just said. But do you have a website? Anywhere else they can go to find you?
The best way to start, I mean, I'm John Spencer Williams on pretty much every platform. And the best way to start is some of the things I've talked about here very briefly are in a free 12-page guide I've created, which you can get from theideaslab.co. And that's just like a one-page opt-in page. And from there, you can follow lots of links to what I do, or just follow me on any one of those social platforms and say hi and say where you heard me. That would be cool.
Amazing. That's good. So the ideaslab.co.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Good. John, hey man, thank you so much for being on. I loved this conversation. If so many small nuggets, but if they apply them, it's actually game changing in their business. So thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom and thoughts and just your helpful ideas for people on the show, man. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Good chat.